Alright, this is an informative YouTube video about living in Egypt. It's for people who want to come here to travel, live, or whatever. If you're just interested and want to know about life in Egypt, then you've come to the right place. Yeah, so I guess the first thing is the airport, and I guess I'll just start us off. But the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to exchange some money in order to buy an entry visa. You're going to usually exchange, the best thing is dollars or euro or whatever that you're going to come bring in.
I've already seen it.
Gotta keep the door closed.
And so whatever
you don't have to exchange money. I think you can just pay $15 to.
Yeah, they do take dollars there, right?
It's just $15.
Yeah, $15
They give you a stamp. You take that. You get in the line for the customs or whatever.
Yeah.
And you give that to them. They'll put it in your passport, stamp it, and then you're through, and you get your bags.
Right.
In general, when you are new in Egypt, I feel like anytime anyone offers to do anything, I've had a few experiences where you run into someone who's very friendly, and like sometimes I was actually really in need of help and eager to receive what I thought was a favor. But I think the first thing you need to realize is that most of these people are in the end are going to expect some sort of compensation.
In some cases.
Whether or not that's a scam or not is kind of up to interpretation. But anytime, especially around any of the tourist areas, the airport especially, you should expect to have to pay any person that helps you.
If you're meeting people that are trying to help you, a lot of the times they actually don't want money, but there's certain specific situations in which almost always they are asking for money, and one of those is when you're getting off of the plane
Right.
and helping you
This
with
is
your
one
bags.
situation where somebody would
and so-
probably come up and grab your bags. They might not even ask you. They'll just kind
Right.
of like pick them up.
And in that sense,
ask
it
you
is a
where you're
scam.
going.
In
Yeah.
that sense, it is a scam because they're
Yeah.
offering you a service
Yeah.
that is expecting money, and you don't necessarily even want that. You're not
Yeah,
asking
yeah.
for
Might
that
be getting a
service.
little-
I think that the biggest thing in leaving the airport is you need to have an estimate in your head of how far away that place you're going is, whether or not it's a hotel or a friend's house, or if you have a specific destination already in mind. Because there's going to be a bunch of cab drivers there, and they're going to be very friendly and helpful and aggressive in offering you rides.
Yeah.
And they're going to assume that you have no idea how much a cab ride in Egypt costs.
The cab ride, basically, the price will depend on what part of town you're going to.
It's almost impossible to find a reasonably priced cab from the airport.
Yeah, they
they're all
know
there.
that the people coming
Right.
are.
But there is a way to do it,
Don't know.
and the way to do it is you have to first know where you're going and how much the fare is. Number one, you have to have exact change. So in other words, you don't want to be put in a situation where you're asking the taxi for change. So you should have the exact amount to pay him, what you know that the cab ride's going to cost. And there's always, if you're coming into Egypt for the first time and you don't know how to negotiate properly, then of course you're going to pay a little bit more than normal. But if you want to not get completely ripped off, the best way to do it is approach don't accept any of the cabs that are there at the airport waiting and trying to solicit you. The best way is to wait for somebody to be dropped off from the airport, get the cab that's come in to the airport dropping somebody off, ask them, and then negotiate from that point beforehand. Don't just get in the cab and expect that the meter's going to be right or that they're going to offer you a fair price at the end of the ride. You negotiate the price before you enter the cab. Once you're in, it's not going to matter if he takes an hour to get there because you've already gotten the price down to where you want it to pay it.
Yeah.
And then when you're dropped off, take all of your bags out of the car and then hand him the money from the window. Don't try to negotiate it with your bags in the car, because then he's going to try. Who knows? You just want to have all your bags out of the car and then give him the money. And that's the same with most cab rides. Like any cab ride that you get, even not from the airport, that's usually the standard procedure.
I think actually technically like they're there are some like guards around that they're not. The cabs aren't supposed to pick somebody up right after they drop them off. So
Yeah.
if you go that route, you might get in a cab and then a guard will come over and he might ask the driver for money or you for money or something. Or he might just tell you to get out because they're not supposed to do that.
Well, the
You
way
might
to,
probably
the way
get
to,
away with,
the
like,
way to
another
avoid
5%
that,
penalty.
you're absolutely right, and the way to avoid that is to go out from the very front. You go down. There's just usually you just go away from where the other taxis are. Yeah, you go to a parking lot and there's going to be there's taxis all over Cairo. I mean, if you have to wait more than like 5 minutes for a taxi, there's something wrong.
Well, like depending on the time of day, there might not be a lot of taxis at the airport. So basically, like when you're leaving the airport, if you're going to Heliopolis, then probably £30 is the best price that you'll get.
But what
Right.
what do you think the most you should pay for a cab is if you're heading to Zamalek?
If you're going all the way across town to like Giza, where the pyramids are, 60. Yeah, I would pay more than £60.
So the cab drivers
They're gonna try to say like 150 or something.
Yeah, they'll say
Just,
ridiculous
like,
prices.
Walk
but,
away.
But that's just what.
Yeah, and
that's
don't
a
be-
common occurrence in
Don't be-
everything here.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Don't be afraid to like just because there will be certain taxis that just will not agree to a reasonable price, and if they won't, then just go to the next guy. And I mean, that's part of the fun of going to Egypt. If you, I mean, if you want to call it that, that's one of the things that you get to do here is you get to negotiate with people and
Yeah.
bargain and things like that. And, I mean, personally, I'm not all that into it, but I mean, I see the appeal, and a lot of people come here for that reason.
It can be stressful if you let it get to you, but once you know what's going to happen, you know how to deal with it.
I know that we've had like really intense like conversations with our
Yeah.
friends about like the good taxis and bad taxis, and there are genuinely good people driving taxis.
There's some of the
He
traffic
thinks
right
the
there.
majority of them are not.
The majority aren't nice, but I mean, there are a significant number of really good people, usually older men, who are driving taxis who will not take even one more pound from you than what is the fare. And if you try to pay them over, if you try to tip them, they won't accept it. And then there are the people who try to charge you 5 or 10 times the going rate. And I'll give you an example. When I was in the Citadel, when I was going to visit the Citadel, the taxis right outside the Citadel were trying to charge me £60 for what ended up being, when I crossed the street out into the road to hail a taxi, I got a one for £7. So I mean, that's a significant. That's like to me, that's a dramatic
Yeah.
difference.
But that's a reality in any tourist
Yeah.
near any tourist attraction.
The way
So
it
you're gonna
works
run
is
into the
if
people
you,
that are trying to scam you.
if you know the price, if you know how much something is supposed to, how much a cab ride is supposed to cost, you just get in. When you get let off, you get out, give them the money, and walk away. If they
But I think this is a good time to talk about the two different types of taxis, because the way that I've found out what a cab ride costs is by taking a white taxi. There are two types. There are the older taxis, which are black generally, and then there are white taxis, which are generally newer, and there are a few yellow taxis around. But most of the time when you're taking a cab, you'll see driving around the city white and black taxis. The white taxis all have a meter inside, and so you get in. Tell the cab driver where you want. Well, before you get in, actually, you'll tell the cab driver where you want to go, and he'll decide whether or not he wants to take you there.
Right. You do it from the window. You don't just hop into a cab.
Right. So you have to. It's his choice whether or not he wants to go. If you're going a long way away from where he wants to be, then he might not take you.
You just say the neighborhood, yeah, like the district first. Like
Part of
if you're in a different district, the first thing you say is the district. Like for example, if I'm in downtown and I'm wanting to go somewhere in Masr Gadida, I say Masr Gadida, or I could say like a very
Masr
specific.
Gadida
Means New Egypt,
which is which is Heliopolis.
Yeah, New Egypt. Masr Gadida translates into New Egypt, and that's one of the districts. And so if you're in downtown, you'd say Masr Gadida, and then he's going to say yes or no, or he'll say Fein Masr Gadida, where in Masr Gadida, and then you'll say where in Masr Gadida, and you have to know not the address, but and maybe not even the street, but like a specific
usually
landmark,
a main street
Or-
or a main square.
a square, a square. Arabic square in Arabic is Medan.
Medan.
Medan, and or a mosque or a church. Like they pretty much know if you live or if you're going somewhere close to a certain church, then know the name of that church, and that's a real quick, easy way to do it.
If you hail a white taxi, you'll ask him tell him where you want to go. If he says yes, get in, and you'll be off. The meter will start with 2.5 pounds on it, and the meters go up 1.25 pounds per kilometer. And so if you don't know your way around the city and you don't know how much the cab ride should be, that's a good way to get an idea. There are some meters that have been tampered with. So if you see a meter that's going up very quickly, you should probably just get out of the cab then and refuse to pay.
And run.
Yes. But then the most common taxi is a black taxi. And a black taxi won't have a meter in it, or sometimes it will, but they usually won't work. And
Pretty standard.
yeah, that's pretty.
Like
Universally, they don't work.
Yeah.
So you get in, and you can either negotiate the price with that taxi there. Some people like to do that, but the best way to use a black taxi is to know where you're going and what it should cost. Get in, tell him where you want to go, or tell him where you want to go, get in, and when you arrive, get out, give him the amount of money that you know the ride is worth, and walk away, regardless of what he does. The best way to respond to an aggressive taxi driver is just to say no and walk away.
Yeah,
just don't engage.
They can make a scene, but they'll end up.
Just don't engage in.
Just walk away.
Don't engage in a conversation. Just say no.
Try to go for the older guy as the taxi driver. The older guy is usually going to be much more nice, much more courteous, he's going to be friendly and talk with you, and he's not going to try to rip you off at the end. That is a generalization, I know, but it's been my experience. The younger taxi drivers are more aggressive.
They've given rides to less foreigners.
And they feel a sense of entitlement, especially when it comes to you're a foreigner, they want to take more money from you. That's my feeling. Get a good map of the different districts. One place that I can tell you it's kind of weird to get a map of the districts is on Otlob.com. It's a place where you order food online, and we'll do another show about ordering food online, I'm sure. But if you want to get a map of the districts, the best one that I've ever seen is on Otlob.com, and it's got a map of all of them.
OTLOB.com.
And it literally. Let's talk about crossing the street.
So there's not much order in the traffic here.
Oh yeah. Do not wait for the signal.
Yeah, there are very few traffic lights in Cairo. Most major intersections are actually roundabouts, or they're run by a police officer that's there 24 hours a day or many hours of the day. I'm not sure. But so crossing the street, you basically, I think, as a rookie in Cairo, your best bet is to find a middle-aged man. It looks like he's survived here crossing the streets for many years. Get on the down traffic side of him and scuttle across. Whenever he goes, you go.
Watch what. It means
It doesn't have to be a man. It can be an old woman.
Right, and just watch what the Egyptian people are doing. See how they do it. It's not crazy. I mean, it's a little bit of an art.
Yeah.
Crossing the street here, but you can.
Like most things here, it just takes some getting used to.
Yeah, exactly. So.